Okay, it is 6:05, and I will call this meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Ward?
Here.
Commissioner Varela?
Here.
Commissioner Dinko?
Here.
Commissioner Gracia?
Here.
Commissioner Perla?
Present.
Thank you.
All right, the Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Commissioner Dinko. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 3.1, Public Safety Commission reorganization. Stephanie.
Before we get there, we'd like to do an introduction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. That is on my. I'm so sorry.
To your left, Commissioner Perla, we have a new commissioner tonight, and she was sworn in at the city council meeting on December 12th when her council member, Jocelyn Yao, took her oath. And so Yvonne has lived in the city of Eastville with her husband Mike and two daughters since 2010. She graduated from the California State University San Bernardino with a bachelor's degree in marketing and graphic design. We might need her help. Yvonne has been employed with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department since 1999. She is currently a senior public information specialist and is assigned to the office of the sheriff. In her spare time, Yvonne enjoys spending time with her family during football season. She is involved in the Eastville Stallion cheer team. She is a volunteer for Meals on Wheels and is a past member of the, I won't be able to say that. There you go, Club of Riverside. Yvonne is excited to join the Public Safety Commission and looks forward to serving her community. So if you guys can give her a nice warm welcome and enjoy her and welcome her to our Public Safety Commission.
Okay. Now, item 3.1,
Okay.
the reorganization of the Public Safety Commission.
The Public Safety Commission appoints a commissioner to serve as chair and vice chair annually. These appointments are effective immediately after the motions are approved. The newly appointed chair and vice chair will preside through calendar year 2019. At this time, we are open for any nominations.
Nominate Sean Farr for chair. I'll second that.
Okay.
Can we have a vote, please?
Okay. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Varela?
Aye.
Commissioner Dinko?
Aye.
Commissioner Gracia?
Aye.
Commissioner Perla?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Do we have a nomination for the vice chair?
Sure.
Yeah, I nominate Christian Dinko for vice chair.
I second that.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Varela?
Aye.
Commissioner Gracia?
Aye.
Chair Perla?
Aye.
Chair Commissioner Dinko?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
So do we need to sit them?
We could probably
We'll do that.
here.
Huh?
We could probably hang.
Okay. Do it the next time.
Yeah.
Our first presentation is going to be on a update for a community enhancement and safety team. Mr. Jones.
Thank you very much. At the December 12th meeting, we took before the city council an opportunity to expand our code enforcement team, but also in the same opportunity to rebrand our code enforcement team. And one of the purposes of rebranding it to the community enhancement and safety team is our municipal code is there to enhance the community and safety of our community. And code enforcement is one of the tools in that in that toolbox, just like a peace officer is there to enhance the peace of the community, and their gun or a citation is one of their enforcement tools, but we don't call them a citation officer. And so one thing that we are looking to do is really focus on our goal of compliance with our community, of community enhancement and safety. And so really rebranding this. And one of the components that we will be doing is we will be bringing in a community enhancement and safety manager to the organization. And we're going to be going out for recruitment for that position probably on December 20th. And it will close sometime in January. And this position is going to help us take the Neighborhood Watch program, which is a first of its kind program in Eastville, where every neighborhood in Eastville has a Neighborhood Watch program, and we're going to be expanding it to the commercial retail establishments as well. But in that light, we are looking to elevate our community enhancement safety team and our collaboration with the community to be part of the public safety process and really support the two council members and Don Pettinger that started the Neighborhood Watch program, along with all the neighborhood captains in that area, in those specific neighborhoods. And we are very excited about this rebranding and really focused on what our goal with that team is in its goal to enhance the community and safety of our community. And we're going to be expanding. Once we hire that individual, we're going to make an assessment of the needs of the organization. But council has already approved the hiring of a new community enhancement safety officer, as well as a community enhancement safety technician. So we will be working to enhance our presence in the community and have more eyes and ears in the community and in our neighborhoods. And especially during the day when a lot of people are at work, and just being a support system to our law enforcement team. And so we're still working through that process, but should, a car be stalled on the side of the roadway, we don't need a sworn officer standing behind them with their lights on when they could be responding to priority 1 calls. We could potentially collaborate to have our community enhancement and safety team pull in behind them with their lights on if a CSO officer isn't available to support our law enforcement so that they can go on to the next call. And it's really just expanding our presence in both in enhancing the community as well as safety in our community. And, a lot of crime that, we don't, first of all, have a lot of crime in our community. Contrary to social media perception, we're one of the safest communities in Southern California. However, a lot of the crime that does exist here is starting out with, the broken window syndrome or the graffiti syndrome or somebody making a poor decision or letting their home get run down a little bit and letting the neighborhood get run down and people not taking a little bit of pride in their ownership here in Eastville. And so really helping to achieve that neighborhood community enhancement and safety, and focusing on our goal of enhancing the community and safety. So council wanted me to come back and share that with you, that we're going to go for one of the things that council said is let's test this new name out for 6 months. If they don't have enough gusto and they need to go back to code enforcement because they need the badge to do something, we'd rather use compliance and verbal jujitsu than the heavy hand. I think there's 2 different ways to handle it. You can do the guardian approach and the compliance approach, or you can do the enforcement and the warrior approach. And I think with our community enhancement safety team, we can, in Eastville, what we really need is a more loving touch and caring approach. One of the things that some of my officers shared with me is sometimes we have a resident complain about another resident and they don't know each other. And so they call the city to solve their problem. And instead of going and knocking on each other's door and saying, hey, I'm your neighbor. I noticed you're not mowing your lawn for the last 2 months. Is there anything I can do to help you out? Being neighbors loving on neighbors, right? Instead of that, they call us and say, hey, my neighbor's not mowing their yard and edging their lawn. Can you do something about it? So we go out there and as we're knocking on the door to engage them, we look through the front door and you see somebody sitting in a hospice bed or laying in a hospice bed. and we say, oh, wait, there might be something going on here in this home. And so when they come to the door, we say, hey, we notice your yard isn't being taken care of, but we also notice that your family member in the front room. And they said, well, yeah, our breadwinner in the family is dying in the hospice bed, and we couldn't afford our maintenance crews, and we don't have a lawnmower, right? And so one of the things that we've been doing is working out with our faith-based community to develop some volunteers in our community to really take on that approach where we can call a few of the pastors and say, hey, we need some love over on this home, some social service support. And a lot of our faith-based organizations are looking for ways to support our community, but because we don't have a soup kitchen or a homeless population or anything like that, they think, well, we can't do anything in our community. And we're realizing that there are people in our community that need to be loved on. And a lot of times it results in some of the things that are happening around their home or how they're taking care of their home. And so we have... so then we can make those connections, and that's really the goal of the community enhancement team, is either help people realize that our expectations in Eastville and being part of our community in Eastville are pretty high, and we take great pride in a community that allows people to have prosperity, and everybody to have prosperity, and we don't want anybody impacting that or their sense of safety, but also connecting people with the services and needs in the community. And so, luckily we have some great people-centric community enhancement and safety officers and technicians that really take a lot of pride in understanding the problem that people are having and not just attack the circumstances or the results. And so we're really excited about this, and we're going to be monitoring over the next 6 months to see how things work in this realm. But we're going to be providing a lot of the administrative support for the Neighborhood Watch program to even take it to the next level and figure out how do we leverage that to enhance the safety in our community. And then one other thing that was mentioned in the last council meeting, and you'll probably see in my Eastville Connects article, is we have a lot of people that are concerned about public safety, or might I say complain about public safety in our community. And we want to give them an opportunity. And so in conjunction with our Eastville Police Department and Captain Hedge and Lieutenant Martin, we're going to be developing a residents on patrol approach where people could volunteer, and we're going to figure out how to have some vehicles in Eastville, maybe some clean energy vehicles that they can volunteer to support our law enforcement and our community enhancement safety team in the community, and they can just be an extra set of eyes and ears in the community, whether that's in the holiday time, patrolling our shopping center and just having their lights on to let people know there's a presence out there, and to deter crime in our community, and make sure people know that this is not a place to come if you're a criminal, or if you want to have any criminal or mischievous activity. This isn't the city to do it in. And so there's a lot of other cities to choose around here, but we want to really heighten our presence and our awareness. And so we're going to be developing that program and looking for maybe 30 or 45 individuals that would like to give 4 to 8 hours a month. And then create some kind of volunteer appreciation component to that, whether it's quarterly to celebrate quarterly or yearly to celebrate what they're contributing to our community. And hopefully between the Residents on Patrol, the Neighborhood Watch program, our community enhancement and safety team, as well as our law enforcement team, we can continue to enhance the safety of our community and the feeling of safety, and allow people to see that we're really taking safety and public safety in our community a high priority, because that's what really enhances the community quality of life. So with that, that is my update. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of those, or if you have any ideas or concerns. So, yeah.
Brian, excellent presentation, sir. Enhancement versus enforcement. It's probably one of the oldest guys here in the room as I look around here, maybe me and Craig.
Oh, be nice to Craig. You got Tim in the room too, so be careful.
You know what? Tim's young at heart. I can just look at him. I understand the symbiotic view of, loving on each other and enhancement and very, I won't say they're catchphrases because they're certainly not that. I believe that they're words that are intended to reassure the public and have trust in its public service and as well as this commission. But one of the things that does concern me is I still want to have teeth to the code enforcement. And what I mean by that is this. Oftentimes, we talked about the people of the community, and we have really good people in the community. But unfortunately, we have a criminal element within our community as well, which we all want to weed out and get rid of. So I guess one of my concerns would be I don't want that element to underestimate what this enhancement team does. So I guess my question to you would be: is there a way we can bifurcate an enhancement section from an enforcement section?
So that's a very good question. And so how the language would start to change is our community enhancement and safety team would then take action through code enforcement. And so we would say our community enhancement team has observed something going on at your residence. So we don't deal with criminal activity for the most part, unless most of the criminal activity is handled by our law enforcement. So anybody that would be challenging us in those ways, our law enforcement would be involved in a real criminal activity. If it's a municipal code violation, that's a different story. And our code enforcement team and our community enhancement safety team can take code enforcement action, just like a peace officer has the ability to write a citation or arrest you. Our community enhancement team has the ability to use code enforcement and write citations or parking citations or that rel. And so they can use code enforcement as a tool and an action, and they still have all the rights and responsibilities in the municipal code as a code enforcement officer by law. And so they have that ability to take that action should they have to. But typically, when we approach a home, our first thing isn't saying, hey, I'm code enforcement and I'm writing a citation. Our first action is, how do we help you gain compliance with the municipal code? And if you can't gain compliance with the municipal code, then we take code enforcement action, rather than, hi, I'm a code enforcement officer, and then all of a sudden they get defensive with us, or they come combative with us. We're here to help you comply with our municipal code. Here's our expectations in the community. It's often an education component before we do the enforcement component, and we ask for that compliance and then work towards enforcement when compliance isn't achieved.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is, and I just want to make sure I understand it, is that the enhancement is going through, but there will be teeth because the enforcement will still be done. I understand the enforcement will still be done, but then the actual verbiage enforcement will still be used in some kind or form, in some fashion or form?
So one of the things that we were discussing with our team and with the city council is what code enforcement is: an action or a tool. It's not the person. And so the person is there to help the resident, and even the enforcement, it is a tool to help with compliance. And so if you don't comply in enhancing the quality of our community or the safety of our community, then we have to use the code enforcement tool. And so what we really want to do is focus on the goal of what the code enforcement team is supposed to be doing, is enhancing the community and the safety. That's why a city has a municipal code. It's all focused on the health and welfare and the safety and the community enhancement of the community. We want front yards to look nice. We want tagging to be gone. We don't want you rummaging through people's garbage cans, whatever have you. We don't want you parking on our streets when we're doing street sweeping enforcement, or when we're doing street sweeping, because we need to clean our streets so that the water isn't going into the streams and the ocean. So those are the types of activities. We don't want you hoarding. Occasionally, we assist law enforcement on a grow house or other activities, or if you pile up furniture in your front yard. We had a complaint about that the other day. Somebody let their yard die, so we went out there and we let them know, hey, your yard can't be brown, it can't be dead, so you either need to paint it green, or we need to figure out how to get green grass back into your lawn, but you need to turn your water back on. And in some cases, people are saying, well, I can't afford my water bill, so I've stopped doing my landscaping. And I'm like, okay, well, then we need to figure out how to do a drought tolerant landscaping rather than a grass if you can't afford the water for your grass. And so, but you can't have dead lawn in your neighborhood. And so you can't have your lawn growing over 3 feet into the sidewalk and creating a trip hazard. Those kind of things are some of the repeat things. You can't do illegal dumping in our community. Those are a lot of the routine things that we're dealing with out there, and where we're getting a lot of the complaints in our community. And we'll be able to, with the increase in staffing, we'll be able to have 2 people per day, Monday through Saturday, to really take care of that. And then we have 1 person on Sunday. And a lot of it's picking up illegal signs, yard signs or retail signs that are putting out, or real estate agents leaving their signs out after they do an open house for 4 days. And they do an open house on Saturday, and on Monday it's still out there, and they never picked them up. And so, or they're blocking the ADA ramp or things like that. So, but we will still have the ability to do code enforcement, and these individuals will have all the accreditation and all the training to do all the code enforcement. But that is the tool that we will use last, rather than when we first engage them.
Thank you, that answered it. Thank
Okay.
you.
I just have one thing, reference community enhancement. I mean, if we're going to have a community enhancement manager, I mean, one of the things that helps us with is all the smaller things that our sheriff's department doesn't have time or the ability to handle on a daily basis. They do a great job with crime, but being a smaller city and only a certain size of city staff, this gives us an opportunity to give back services to our community on that otherwise might fall through the cracks. The enforcement side of it's still there, but when we're talking about our neighborhood watch, which is really kind of pretty far built out, which is a great service to the city, having somebody directly overseeing that works here at the city is a good advantage. So I can see a lot of value, long-term value with us starting that.
I completely agree. And when Todd and Brandon and Don came to me and said, hey, is there any way that the city can help with the oversight and administration and really championing and motivating and inspiring our neighborhood watch captains to be all that they can be and really support and be that conduit to them, it was a no-brainer decision for me. And I said, well, all I have to do is ask you for a position to do that, and you have to approve it. So you need one other vote up there. And we created that position to really help with the Neighborhood Watch program. And the reason why we created a management position is because this position will have a flexible work schedule. And often, as managers, we're working more than 40 hours a week. And when the Neighborhood Watch captain meetings are occurring are in the evenings, and so it allows us to have greater flexibility to support those neighborhood watch programs and those neighborhood watch captain meetings. We just had a neighborhood watch captain meeting in November. I think it was the Monday before we were going to have the Public Safety Commission meeting, but we didn't have any items, but we probably could have after we had that incident. But we had 40 or 50 neighborhood watch captains right here, and we look at the Public Safety Commission meeting and how many people from the public are engaging in the topics here, and Mario is not in the public. The neighborhood watch captain meeting has been a really great way to engage our community on public safety, and some of those priority 3 and 4 calls that sometimes are not as urgent, or when somebody's calling on certain things, we could have our law enforcement say, hey, is this something that code enforcement can take on? And if we have the resources and ability to do that, then we can help them out. So, but we've done a lot of tag team. With July 4th, we had fireworks support with law enforcement with our community enhancement and safety team, and we had people out doubled up writing citations for illegal fireworks in our community to help out with that. So not only did we have our fire department, but we had our police department as well as our then code enforcement team out, and we really cracked down on and probably had the lowest fireworks issue of any of the cities in the region, and we took great advantage of that. So.
I have a question. So is Don Pettinger still going to have involvement in the program?
Yes.
Or is that completely?
So I would imagine that Don, Todd, and Brandon are going to probably be an advisory body for the Neighborhood Watch program, since they kind of birthed this thing in this community, and they have a lot of passion for it. And so I'd love to continue to engage residents that have that much passion and energy, so it's my understanding that Don will still be involved, and he will still be on the Crime Watch page.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
If we were going to actually have somebody take that over, if he's still managing that.
So there's about 5 or 6 people managing the Crime Watch page, and so it's Don. Don is probably one of the more vocal people on there, and the one that deletes the stuff that doesn't belong on there,
Exactly.
and he does an amazing job with that. And so it's a full-time job for him, and he's got 3 other full-time jobs. And thankfully, Don has allowed me to be on there, and so I monitor that as well. Sometimes we have Eastville residents or businesses that post on there before they call 911, so that they can get credit for posting on the Crime Watch page. And so we always remind people to call 911 before you post it on there, because and give our law enforcement a chance to respond, so that they can do their job. Because sometimes what's posted too quickly on our page creates a lot of angst and anxiety in our community, and so we kind of encourage people to be respectful and allow law enforcement to do their job first.
So will the new manager then be overseeing that as well?
We haven't really defined the roles on that yet. It will be helping do a lot of the administrative stuff for the Neighborhood Watch program, and I'll need to define some of those roles and responsibilities with Don to figure. I mean, on the social media presence, when that Crime Watch. We would almost prefer to keep that Crime Watch page separate from the city, because once it becomes a city function, we can't delete things off of there unless they're completely
Yeah.
inappropriate. And so he can he can censor it, and like what we saw in the homicide, there were some residents that chose to take things off the Crime Watch page and that were getting deleted and repeat them on our city page, but we can't delete them on our city page no matter how inaccurate they are, or how biased or opinionated or editorial they might be. And so we had a lot of those when the homicide happened, and knowing some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, it was completely inaccurate information, but we can't delete that off for First Amendment rights. So
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Just real quick on this, this citizen on patrol thing. Is that a city thing, or is that going to be through the sheriff's department?
we're probably going to go through the Eastville Police Department and work with them to develop this residents on patrol. And so anybody a resident in our community can volunteer their time and do that. And so we're going to work through and create the policies and the legislation on that. But currently, right now, if you're a volunteer, you could be called into Harupa Valley, or you could be called into Norco or something else to help out. And we really want to create a team that's just focused on Eastville. And so, and if we provide, instead of having a volunteer drive to the Harupa Valley substation and pick up a vehicle and come back to Eastville, which is a 30 or 60-minute delay depending on the time of day, we could have potentially some residents on patrol vehicles at Station 27 or 31 that people could go over and get into. We could also start providing, and so we're going to figure out how to administer that with the Eastville Police Department. But it will be definitely in a partnership with the law enforcement team.
My only concern with it is 2 things. One, communications, obviously, with the sheriff's department.
Yes.
And interfering with any of their radio traffic, because these are going to be people that are obviously not trained and educated on how law enforcement operates and or works. So my concern would be not to interfere with anything with the actual sworn police officers are doing out there on their radio frequencies, because that can be really frustrating for a law enforcement perspective.
Oh, you're completely spot on, and they would go through a training initiative about how to stay quiet on a radio unless there was an issue. This
Yeah.
isn't a social. This isn't a social event. This isn't.
Maybe a separate frequency that they can get, or we can secure, that way they're not.
So I'm gonna let the experts on our Eastvale Police Department monitor how that's done and not tell them how to do that. But I'm sure if our residents on patrol are blowing up their radio, that they will just take the radios out of their car, and so we don't want that to happen. And
Exactly.
I'm gonna allow them to run their own operations, and if there's an issue, I can step in and get involved. But I trust that lieutenant and captain are going to be able to run, and their sergeants will be able to run this program and monitor and train these volunteers in a way that is adding value to them and not detracting from their ability to do law enforcement.
Okay, yeah, that was my follow-up
That is
question
that is the complete. So we'll set up those policies and those procedures and that training, and that if there's going to be a certain amount of orientation that is going to be required.
And I'm all for the extra set of eyes. Just my other concern would be there's always that person who wants to take action, and,
Right.
and the liability that can fall back on the city or the county, for that matter, if they were to get into a confrontation with a suspect out there that's maybe armed or not, and and get hurt. So
Right.
that would be a concern.
Yeah, Commissioner Perrella, if I may. Yeah, they go through the volunteer training academy just like all our other volunteers, which pretty extensive on what they can and cannot do as a volunteer. And they go through training for radios and, blocking streets and all that type of stuff. So it's just like our normal volunteers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's not going to be anything less than what is currently being done. It's just we're one of the only cities in this part of Riverside County that we have very few volunteers, where Norco has 20 or 25 volunteers, and their volunteers are often coming into our city because we don't have enough volunteers, and there's not a reason with all the philanthropic giving people that live in our community that they can't also participate and give back and pay it forward to this community to enhance the public safety.
One concern I have with, I know it's just conversation right now, but really emphasizing their role as a volunteer. I know you're referring to them as residents on patrol, but making sure that the people that see them out and about understand they're volunteers is a slightly different distinction, which I think is something we really want to pay attention to. So how they're recognized and understanding their role, I know it. Whenever we get to that point, the Sheriff's Department, I hope, guide us in that direction. But I'm really excited about the idea of getting a strong volunteer program.
Yeah, it's just a concept right now. It might be called volunteers on the patrol. It might be called residents on patrol. Whatever it might be called. The fact is it's people in our community supporting our law enforcement and supporting the safety of their fellow residents. So, and fellow businesses in our community. So.
I have a couple things. I'm going to echo what Commissioner Ward said about some of this stuff. I understand the need for rebranding and growing and looking at other opportunities. Several questions on that. We get a code enforcement update every meeting, and I think Officer Morales and his team do a wonderful job. Did this come about because of a need for it? I have notes for the last 4 years of how many citations and compliance. The big thing was, trash cans not being put in or weeds. And as I walk through the neighborhoods and knock on doors in Cesari's district, a lot of people are saying, code enforcement is doing a wonderful job. I can call up and do this. I see a citation over there, they're still not listening. And I see another citation over there and they're still not listening. And just coming from the background of enforcement myself for 20 years, and now as an incident command management system, as an operations section chief, I understand the need for education, engineering, and enforcement. And I think those three can work together. But I fear by completely rebranding, what Joe was saying over here, that we're going to say, okay, enforcement, we want to hug people. Your grass is growing a little too long. We're going to hug you and see what's going on. When that might not be the government's role in that part, that could be for our pastors or for our community or our volunteers. My worry is that we'll get to a point where we may see, and I mean that's remains to be seen in future meetings, where we say, you know, we've reached out and we've educated people that they have to put their trash cans away. We've engineered a better trash can, make it easier for them to put away. But there's got to be a time where we say, yeah, we're writing you a ticket.
And there will always be that. So that we're not hugging on anybody. So I'm sorry if I communicated that. We are not going to be hugging on anybody out there. That's not our role as government. Rancho Cucamonga has deployed this in their code enforcement. This is not new in the code enforcement world, right? And Rancho Cucamonga is doing an amazing job with their team up there. And when I sat down with their city manager up there and asked for feedback with that, and what I told my council is, if we're not able, if this rebranding isn't successful after 6 months, we'll go back to code enforcement. But what I would like to do is focus on the goal rather than on the enforcement. And so the goal is to get compliance. And if we have to use code enforcement to achieve compliance, we will do that. And so we also have residents in our community that you know are that we have to educate on the process of our community enhancement and safety. And so somebody calls in and gives us a complaint, or on the eCitizen app or whatever, highlights something. We log it into the system. We then go out and do an inspection. We can then put a notice of violation on their thing. They have 7 days or a certain amount of time frame to correct this, right? Then we go back out and re-inspect it. If they're not doing it, then they get their first citation. If that citation doesn't do, they get a follow-up citation, and we progressively get worse or more enforcement as that goes on. But we had, you know, just an individual the other day send all of my council members an email individually saying, what is code enforcement doing on this house? And I've seen them over there taking pictures. Well, we have to go out and first inspect. We have to take a picture of what it looks like now. Then we come out and re-inspect. We take more pictures. So we're documenting the case. And on the second time, and it has a date stamp on the picture. Then we write the citation. They get the citation, and then we follow up. And if the citation doesn't work, we progressively take more action in code enforcement. And you know, for most of our cases, we have had an incredible amount of success in getting compliance. And so I want to thank Senior Officer Morales and his team for their ability to do that. And you know, in visiting with them, I think they are excited about the opportunities and what they're going to be able to do with the Neighborhood Watch program, as well as with the Community Enhancement Safety Team to really serve our community and achieve the goal of enhancing our community and safety. So if everything doesn't work at 3 months and I see it not working at 3 months, I'll be the first one to admit that it didn't work, and we'll go back to code enforcement. But I have evaluated what other cities are doing, and I think this is a great way to focus on what our goal is in our community.
Thank you. Another thing is Neighborhood Watch, and as you said, Brian, it's usually no public. There's been several meetings where we've had very vocal members of the public. I think we need to look into ways of reaching out with that big group of people on Facebook that complain, rightly, wrongly, or whatever, and they go to Don or whoever they go to, right to the council. I have emails from people weekly about little issues that we can take care of, but I would like to bridge the gap between us, maybe as a commission and Neighborhood Watch. I'd like to see more people know. I mean, they know they can come, and I know several years ago we changed the meeting time, and we used to have a camera in here, and it was live, and we did some of that stuff. But I see a breakdown in the fact that people come to us maybe individually or come to the council individually, but they're not coming here. And I don't know if we can do something better as a commission, or Neighborhood Watch can do something better as a community organization to maybe bridge that gap together. Because the last thing I like to hear is, I don't want to be the last person hearing about something going on, or the city being the last entity that knows there's a problem, when these community groups are getting together saying there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem, when there's multiple ways that they can address that with their elected and appointed officials.
So a lot of it goes back to our city council and our commissioners. If you solve it without them coming here, then they don't need to come here. If you engage them on social media, then and they get more response on social media. We are training them to go to social media, and so. If you're getting emails weekly and I'm not seeing them as a city manager, I don't even know there's an issue with public safety. And so, if you're getting emails weekly, you're more than welcome to share them with me, and then I can provide the appropriate thing. My challenge is when I'm not communicated with, and if I'm not communicated with, I don't know that there's an issue. And so, if there's 3 commissioners that are experiencing the same issue and only 2 are telling me about it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's not a real big issue. But I do monitor the Crime Watch page, much to my wife's chagrin, and I'll go through and look at what's being said on there. And I even comment occasionally on our Public Safety Commission. If you go back, somebody posted the other day, it was on either Let's Talk Eastville or the Crime Watch, what could we be doing better, right? And somebody said, we need more law enforcement. And I said, okay, what does more law enforcement mean to you? And they said, we need an officer at every school. We have an officer at every school. We need more motor officers. How many motor officers do you want? 2. We will have 2 on order, right? And so, part of it is this perception of versus reality, right? So somebody will say it took them 45 minutes to come. Well, you weren't in a safety danger, so your priority went down to a priority 2 or priority 3, and they were handling a priority 1 call in that time frame. And so we work really closely with Captain Hedge and Lieutenant. But a lot of times, we're in a day, we were city founded on social media, and we have 15,000 people following us on the city of Eastville. We have a lot of people that comment on things that don't show up to our council meetings because they can send an email, or they can send a text, or they can send a instant message, or they can send a Facebook instant message, or they can send a Instagram, there's 22 ways that people are communicating with us. I have people that text me a picture and say, can you handle this? And so then I got to take a screenshot, send it to him, where if they just would download our eCitizens app and take a picture and hit send, it would go straight to him, and there wouldn't be a delay of me, right? And then we could log it and we could track it, and then we could say, oh wow, this resident is having. But if one time it goes to the mayor, another time it goes to a council member, another time it goes to a city manager, we're not tracking it in the same way. And so, I think there are ways to engage in it. And as we bring this community enhancement and safety program and we bring the neighborhood watch program, maybe we can start inviting neighborhood block captains and to these events and really engage with the commission. I'm not sure how to leverage that. We highlight this meeting on social media, and so it's going out to every resident that wants to be connected, and we're telling them what we're going to be covering in here, but we had no residents at the city council meeting talk about the community enhancement and safety team, and we had no residents talk about the automatic license plate readers at the city council meeting. We're spending $750,000 on public safety through our technology, and not a single person in the community spoke on it, right? And so maybe that means everybody's happy about it, and that they're liking that we're doing something, or maybe people are so busy that they don't have time to come out to a meeting anymore. And so there are ways that we are looking at how do we engage the community differently, and I think one of those is going to be our community satisfaction study that we're going to be rolling out in January, where we really find out where are our residents on these issues. And so that will be a very advantageous to us to make sure that our resources and our perceptions and our reality are all in alignment with each other. So,
Thank you. Anything else? All right, next item up is code enforcement update.
which we will soon change to community enhancement safety update.
Oh, it's on. There's no on button.
It's always on.
It's always on. Good evening, Vice Chair Dinko, Commissioners, city staff, and members of the public. For the benefit of Commissioner Rob Gracia and Yvonne Varela, we usually do code enforcement updates quarterly, or it can be monthly, it just depends on the request. This code enforcement update reflects the period from September 26, 2018 through December 18, 2018. It includes code enforcement activities such as street sweeping enforcement, code enforcement cases, signs, and staff updates. For this reporting period, we have removed a total of 1,189 illegally posted signs throughout the city. For this reporting period, we have issued a total of 3,712 street sweeping citations, and code enforcement has responded to over 344 cases within the last 60 days. Currently, our quickest turnaround for closed cases include junk and rubbish stored in public view. Our most common case type violations are building-related issues. For staff updates, code enforcement will be working on January 31st, 2018. We are hopeful that by providing code enforcement visibility on New Year's Eve, this will deter illegal fireworks activity throughout the city. We also will be working on December the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, and once again the 31st. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Just have a really quick question. Shopping carts, like from Target and the surrounding retail stores that I'm finding out in the community, I've probably taken 5 or 6 back myself in the past 3 months. What's being done about that?
So at one time, we had a lot of complaints or concerns regarding shopping carts, and we were hands-on. We would pretty much take care of them on the spot, if you may. At one time, we were short-staffed, and by the previous city manager, we were notified not to. We had other things going on with the city, so we couldn't focus on shopping carts. The other things were going on, such as marijuana grow houses and things like that. So our focus changed priorities from shopping carts to other things. So now that we have more staff, we can go back to those issues and we can revisit that. I know that we're working on a policy to revise to have a policy for shopping carts at this time. I just wanted to say something. I just wanted to reassure the commissioners that I know with the branding and changing the name of code enforcement, it may raise some questions, but I can assure you that when we go out there and we do a knock and talk, a lot of the folks don't know that they're in violation. They don't know that they can have an inoperable vehicle in their driveway. So we go out there and we educate them. Most of our cases are resolved without issuing citations, usually resolved, 90% of the time they're resolved with education, or we issue a courtesy notice. There's a 10% that we do issue a cite. We are going to have that in our toolbox where we can issue a cite, but that's our last resort. We want voluntary compliance. So with education, letting them know that, hey, there is a violation, this is not allowed, or this can be allowed, usually that gets folks to comply. So we're going to continue to work with the residents. We're going to respond to all the calls that come in, and if there's any calls that come in or issues that come in through whether it's your email or inbox or phone, please let us know, and we'll get right on it. So I just wanted to put that out. Thank you.
Next item up is the monthly fire department update by Chief Tovar.
Good evening, Commissioners, City Manager Brian Jones, Lieutenant Martin, City staff. The City of Eastville had an increase in call volume for fire and medical services due to holiday traffic. The total calls for both stations were 308. Of those calls, 41 were false alarms, 200 calls were for medical, 4 fires, 33 traffic collisions, and 28 miscellaneous calls. We had about approximately 38 mutual aid incoming requests from the City of Jurupa and adjoining cities, including Norco. Station 31 and 27.
Did you say 38?
Yes. Station 31 and 27 had an increase of public education contacts ranging from school tours to their participation in multiple Christmas celebration events. Station 31 and 27 participated in multiple company drills with the region for active shooter scenarios. We continue to progress in our training. In 2019, our focus will be training our Eastville staff for sidewalk CPR and basic suppression fire skills. We're excited to partner with our extended fire family and to ensure that our city staff are prepared and educated in basic life safety emergencies. During the Holy incident and the multiple rain events that we had, Chief Mike was the deputy incident commander for the winter storms that affected the Temescal Valley. The Holy 3 fire has been closed out with moderate damage to the communities affected by the Holy fire. I'd like to thank Olivia and her staff for participating in the Spark of Love program. The City of Eastville and Chamber of Commerce have given us the opportunity to help those that are less fortunate. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Next up, 3.4 or 4.4, the monthly police department update.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. For the month of November, the total calls for service were 2,323, which was a 1% decrease from the previous month. The total number of traffic collisions were 100, which was a 2% increase from the previous month. The total number of traffic collisions that involved injuries was 19, which was a 32% decrease from the previous month. We had 28. For the total number of non-injury traffic collisions, it was 81, which is a 15% increase from the previous month. Total citations that were written in the month of November was 312, which is a 22% decrease. Out of those citations, moving citations, there were 209 citations written. Parking violations, the Eastville traffic team wrote 103 parking citations. There was a total of 32 vehicle burglaries, which was a 6% increase from the previous month. Total number of noise calls responded to was 48, which was a 37% decrease from the previous month. The previous month we had 77. We had a total of 8 mail thefts reported, which was a 27% decrease from the previous month. The UCR stats for the month of October. In the month of October, we had 0 homicides, we had 1 reported rape, 2 robberies, 3 aggravated assaults, 11 burglaries, 69 larcenies or thefts, 12% vehicle thefts, and 0 arsons reported. I don't have the month of November of UCR stats at this time. Out of those, the robbery calls, one was a shoplifting that turned into a robbery, and the other one was a robbery that originated in another city that was ended in the city of Eastville. And I'm not sure how it ended up on our stats, but that's the other one.
If I can add just a couple noteworthy things. A week ago last Saturday, December 8th, the Rupa Valley Station hosted Shop with a Cop. We had 31 kids from every elementary school in Rupa Valley and also in Eastville attend. We had it at the Target. We gave each child a gift card, and they took officers around, and officers picked out items they wanted for Christmas, and we put them on the carts. And we, after we shopped, we took them back to the Rupa Valley Station. We ordered pizza for everybody. We helped them wrap their gifts. Now, I just want to let everybody know all the officers that were there were on volunteer status. Nobody was paid to attend this. They all did this out of their kindness of their own heart, and we really appreciate everybody. This Friday, we're having a DUI checkpoint at an unknown location. Well, we know where it is. We're not telling you. At an unknown location in the city of Eastville. So if you're at a Christmas party on Friday night, please be Uber. Or Lyft. And then upcoming on New Year's Eve, we're going to be at full staff. We're probably going to have at least 10 extra deputies for New Year's Eve for enforcement of shots fired and fireworks and party calls. So, and that's all I have. We're available for any questions.
Just a couple things. Thank you for giving me the breakdown of the robberies. I always have a question on them, and I appreciate you just getting the answers right away.
Yeah, if I can add to that, it was a robbery in Norco, and our Eastville Police Department, Chris Johnson, saw the vehicle coming across the bridge. We got in pursuit of that, and we ended up in Ontario. You know, I think we arrested 2 or 3 individuals from that robbery. So it was a great job on Chris's part.
I just have one other thing. I know it's not indicated here in the stats because these are stats from October, but you know we did have a violent crime happen here in the city of Eastville. I know that there's a lot of conversation that happens on social media, and in today's day and age of everybody wants information immediately, you know, of course, I understand and the other commissioners understand that, you know, you can't send out information immediately because those are investigations and it takes time. I just have 100% confidence in Riverside Sheriff's Department, you know, crimes against persons and homicide teams, seeing their work over the years. They do a great job. I know that when you have additional information, you'll put that out. And I just want to give my you know, send my confidence and state that in the meeting that I know you guys are doing a great job. And although we haven't got a lot of updates, that's just the way these investigations sometimes happen. So I just at least wanted to mention it from my perspective as a commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we doing the online reporting for the fireworks? Don't we usually do that during 4th of July? Will we
I
do
think
that?
dispatchers, we're probably gonna have to admin a lot of those calls for service through our dispatch because there's, I think last year we had almost 200 calls for service in a 4-hour period in the city of Eastvale. And obviously there's no way we're gonna handle 200 calls for service. So what we do is we admin those. If they don't want contact, if they demand contact, then we'll go out there and we'll still, have the call for service, but if the reporting party does not want contact, we admin the calls because we just are.
But that's the online reporting?
No, that's through our dispatch. I don't think we're doing online reporting for fireworks
Year's.
calls. No.
Okay, I think we did it during 4th of July. I'm gonna double check.
I don't.
We didn't have anybody manning an online.
Yeah, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think we did for 4th of July.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate Commissioner Dinko's comments on that major incident that happened. It's the first one of those in about 4 years in our community, and it rocked our community. I did send out an email to all commissioners as soon as I was contacted, which was shortly thereafter. Of course, social media reported it before it was even called in on a 911 call. So it was on our Crime Watch page, or I think one person was calling 911 and the other person was posting it on social media and taking pictures. And so thankfully some of those pictures were taken down and removed because they didn't belong on social media. And, you know, just like the bomb scare a few months ago at the high school, you know, every kid has a cell phone, and, you know, when they go into lockdown mode, the first thing they do is text their parents, I don't know what's going on, but we're in a lockdown mode. Then they look out their classroom windows and they see a SWAT team or a bomb dog or something like that, and they're taking pictures and they're posting it on social media. And so sometimes you're getting more information than even our law enforcement has, and some of it's accurate, some of it isn't accurate, and some of because, you know, Lieutenant called me as he was being dispatched to go to the high school, and even with the homicide incident, you know, I was called within about 30 minutes of him. And he called me before he even got in his car to say I'm getting dressed and heading over to the thing after working an 18-hour day. I think he put in 40 hours of consecutive work that weekend. When we and there were a lot of officers that worked well beyond their 16-hour limitation on that case that weekend, and our Central Homicide Unit has been working 24/7, 365 since that incident to solve it and work towards a conviction. So I can't reiterate how great of a collaboration we have been having with the RSO, and we can't share a lot of information because it's still an incident investigation, and some things that might be shared or not shared could alter how somebody responds in the community, whether it's a resident or a victim or a victim's family member or the suspects or suspect, you know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, we have to be very careful. And so I work with them, and they did send out a media release that Sunday, and then we also followed it up with a great email or a social media the following Monday. And then last week we also sent an update on it, that it's still in investigation, but we can't there isn't something changing every day that we can share with the community, but we're hoping that we can button this up sooner than later. So, but they want to make sure they collect the right evidence to get a conviction, and I think we have the best people on it right now that are available to us to solve this crime.
I just have one question for the sheriff's department. Do they have access to, or the deputies using that database that I think Don put together regarding the cameras on people's houses?
Yes, Don knew about this crime before I did, because he was monitoring social media, and so Don now has my cell phone. So when he sees something like that, he can now text me and not just my council members, and that was a good opportunity for us to connect and have some great conversations that weekend. But yes, that database is being updated, and not everybody is registered on it. They used that database, and they were provided that database. In that community, there were only a handful of cameras in the database, but it was very obvious from our officers walking around that neighborhood that there were a lot more cameras. So they still had to do the old school way of going up and knocking on doors to get potential evidence.
I talked to Don on more than one occasion. I don't know, maybe you guys can talk to him, but maybe updating that database with license plate readers. For example, like my house, I have 2 license plate readers on my house. So I think that's something the deputies might want to know, because, I mean, a camera is great for a vehicle description, but if you can get maybe some workable info off of a plate, that might be pretty valuable to know.
Right.
So maybe he can update that so where I can register that, hey, my house has license plate readers on it. So if anything happens in that neighborhood, any cars that pass by that maybe match that description, we can get some workable info off of. Myself, along with 3 of my neighbors, have the same cameras in my neighborhood. So if maybe
So don't doorbell niche in your neighborhood?
No.
Okay. I was gonna give you a gift, but now that you know who's anonymous gift,
But yeah, in addition, I have regular cameras. On top of that, I have the license plate readers that cover
Awesome.
both directions. So just something maybe he might be able to add to that database so we can register that so the deputies know in different areas that, hey, we got license plate readers that may pick something up.
Yeah.
It doesn't run obviously through a stolen vehicle database, but it saves that image for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So if something happens, they're gonna.
That's awesome. That's great information. And we're blessed with 1,400 first responders living in our community, or I've heard that number thrown around, and so some of you take even a higher degree to protect your home. And so we do want to have those resources, and we're building up that database. And the block captains, as I understand it with Don, are getting that message out to their neighborhoods, and we'll even be doing a greater push on that probably in the first of the year. So.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine, are to be approved with one motion unless somebody wants to pull it off of the one of the items. Has there been any requests by staff to pull any item or the public?
No, sir, we haven't received any requests to pull.
Any commissioner want to pull any specific item to speak on? No, then a motion is in order.
I'll submit a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second that motion. For the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Villa,
Aye.
Commissioner Gracia,
All right.
Vice Chair Dinko,
Aye.
Chair Perilla.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, on to commission business items. Item 6.1, emergency management update.
Good evening, Chair Perilla and Vice Chair Dinko and Commissioners. The purpose of this update is to provide information on emergency management work completed by city staff. During the course of the calendar year, staff has finished work on the local hazard mitigation plan update, utilized federal funding to upgrade emergency equipment, submitted grant applications for the upcoming grant year, coordinated CERT training in the city, updated safety equipment for city hall and city staff, and set up communication systems testing procedures, and updated inventory management systems. In addition, staff attends local, regional emergency management meetings and coordinates with county emergency management department. Additional details are available in the staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
I read that, and I thank you for all the information in that. I think it was good. Since there's no discussion, is there a motion required to receive it?
Yeah, we'll still have to receive it.
Motion is in order.
I make a motion to receive the, what was it? I'm sorry.
Emergency management.
Emergency management update. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Verla?
Aye.
Commissioner Gracia?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dinko?
Aye.
Chair Perla?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 6.2, the ALPR Automatic License Plate Recognition Project. Mr. Jones.
Yes, we're very excited to bring this before you. Last May, how are we gonna, hold on. There we go. Last May, council approved about $850,000 for us to put into the budget to bring the automatic license plate recognition project to the city of Eastville. And I want to apologize that sometime between then and December, I was supposed to bring it to the Public Safety Commission and go over camera locations with you. That's why I'm here tonight. We are gonna go out for construction in January, so if there's any major changes, we're wanting to present where we've worked with our Eastville Police Department, Lieutenant Martin, Captain Hedge and their team, as well as my experience with ALPRs and other communities, to identify the places where we have the most traffic coming in and out of our community, and that made the most logic to us. But we would definitely like to have the input and feedback from the Public Safety Commission if we're missing something big. Again, it was $866,000, and then the city council approved a contract for, I think it was about $750,000. So it came in about $100,000 less at the December 12th meeting, and so they approved the contract for 30 cameras and 30 fixed cameras and 6 mobile units, subject to the Public Safety Commissioner's review of the locations. So what is ALPR? I'm sure most of you with your law enforcement background and experience know that it's automatic license plate readers. It enhances law enforcement efficiency and effectiveness through technology. It enhances public safety. It deters criminal activity, alert law enforcement to vehicles, people of interest, and provides investigative leads after a crime has been committed. And had we had this in place after the major incident, we might have seen a suspect's vehicle leaving the community or moving around in the community should we have had these before that major incident, which could have helped us maybe even solve the crime even faster. And so we're hoping that this helps us. In addition, they help with criminal investigations, locating stolen vehicles, identifying vehicles used in major crimes, identifying vehicles owned by people of interest, shall only be used by official law enforcement business. So I won't have access to this. Don Pettinger won't have access to this. The neighborhood watch captains won't have access to this. It'll just be law enforcement that will have access to this. And basically how it works is it reads your license plate. Within moments, it's comparing your license plate number to a database of all the issues of license plates that could potentially exist out there that are available to our law enforcement. And should it register something, it will ping all of our law enforcement officers in our community as well as dispatch to let them know that there is something in our community or something entered or exited our community. Riverside County Sheriff's Department has an ALPR technology usage and privacy policy, and I think it might be part of this packet. And if it wasn't part of this packet, it was part of the December 12th City Council packet. So here's just, a typical vigilant wouldn't let us put the city's name up here, but this is a city's stats from their community. I was also involved in the city of Carlsbad when they were considering ALPR, and I've been following along with their police captain and chief that are overseeing the ALPR system, and they've had a lot of great success. They of course, like us, don't have any criminals that live in our city, but they have criminals that visit their city or do business in their city or visit their retail establishments. And so we are very proud that we don't have any criminals in our community, but we do have people that occasionally visit us that are criminals. And so we want to make sure that they don't choose Eastville as a place to visit. And if they do, we know that they're here. So these are just some of the statistics from a local agency, and you can see all the great success that this technology has helped with. Vigilant Solutions is selected as the sole source provider by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. We'll have 6 on patrol vehicles, and we might even put them on our community enhancement and safety team vehicles that do like street sweeping enforcement, because they're in every residential neighborhood a couple times a month. And so as they're going around residential neighborhoods, we can pick up whether, if they're driving on every residential street in a neighborhood, we're picking up every license plate that they go by in a residential neighborhood. And so if there's a known person that they're either picking up or is parked in a place, we can also monitor that should a crime happen with that license plate in the future. Traffic signal cameras, and those will be fixed ones, and we'll have 30 cameras, and basically you need a camera over every lane that you're going to be capturing, and it's real-time notification. It works faster. So the city of Chino already has them, and you can see they're on the back of a mast arm that extends over the travel lanes, and they're lined up with the travel lanes. And so as you're driving underneath them, you don't even see them because they're on the other side of a 6-inch mast arm. But if you were to look up or you had a sunroof, you might be able to see them back there. This is how big they are. They're really small in nature, and they're capturing the data. We're looking at putting them at these locations, and you can see Sliceman and Hellman already has them from the city of Chino. But we're looking at putting them at Limonite and Archibald, and coming in and out of Limonite off of the 15, and we're just going to put them on the Eastvale Gateway and Limonite intersection there. And so I think we're moving about 25 to 30,000 cars through that intersection. So that's one of our major intersections in the community. And then we're working with the city of Chino, and 2 weeks ago, or December 5th, December 5th, I went down to the city of Norco and made a presentation about this to them and said, hey, Citrus and Hamner is an intersection that's technically in your jurisdiction, except for both roads leading up to it are in our jurisdiction, but they don't quite get to the traffic signal. So the signal is 100% in your city. However, if I were to put them at Scholar and Citrus and Hamner and Sliceman, I'm not capturing everything. And then this also helps us see what's coming, the 2 or 3 million visitors to Silver Lakes and coming in and out of Silver Lakes, and so we have a number of visitors coming there. And so part of the conversation with them was if they allow us to put these signals, I would put them exiting our community as well, to let them, because we share law enforcement contract services with the Riverside Sheriff's Office, that their officers could also have this information, and knowing something is coming into their community from our community, or or vice versa. And so, and then of course on 68th Street and then up by Cantu Galliano coming in from that interchange up there as well. And so we're spreading them out throughout the community around many of our major retail locations as well. And most of our exits and entrances. We know Hamner is going to be widened to 3 lanes eventually with a bridge, and so we'll need to have an extra camera on either one of those. But the cost of these cameras is minimal, and we could probably just incorporate that in the construction costs when they put the new traffic signal poles and widen the roadway. And so we'll work on that. But these are the locations, and I just wanted to get your input and feedback or thoughts on if we are spreading these 30 cameras in the best locations throughout the community, and if we're missing anything of significance, and we can either modify something or reprioritize something, or we can identify that as a location for the next phase of deployment after we evaluate the success of this deployment. So,
I have a question on number 8. I know that's Chino's. Is there a time delay? And if so, how long is that time delay to get that information to Eastville deputies for any stones maybe coming into our city?
it's the same system, and so
I understand that, but the notification doesn't go to Harupa Station, it goes to Chino. So how do we relay that information if something's coming east on Schleichman into the city?
So we can actually work with them to have those cameras also send a notification to us.
What's the time delay for them to get that information to Eastville deputies, is my question. The reason why I'm asking is because as soon as a car passes that signal, they get a notification generally at the desk, and that information usually is disseminated on the radio. So there's a little bit of time delay, even real time, to the field deputies. I can tell you from my experience that we're already behind the curve trying to find their car as it passes by if nobody's in the area.
Right.
Whether it's a ground guy and or an airship for that matter.
Right.
So if it's going to Chino, then Chino's got to relay that to Eastville, then maybe we should get, I don't know, a camera on our own camera, so that way it's real time to Eastville's desk as opposed to Chino.
So they're using the same vigilant company, and we could potentially sit down with the city of Chino and just say, can that information just be sent to us real time? Our information is both going to officers in the cars as well as to a desk. And so ours is happening real time in our city. And so,
Yeah.
and the technology is the technology. So if their policy is to go to a desk rather than to the officers in the area, that's their policy. But we could potentially sit down with them and say, hey, could the same information be coming to us?
Yeah, that's my biggest concern.
And so we'll just sit down and work with them on that.
Okay.
But I think there could be some sharing going on there.
Yeah, if I can add to that, it's for the deputies on the field, it's immediate. They have drop-down screens on their computers, and what it is, you minimize it, you log in, you minimize it, you drop it down, so you're dealing with your normal police work. And then as soon as we get a hit, that screen pops up. It says,
And you'll get it from the Chino camera as well?
yes, well, Chino can select on who gets what information, and we all share it together.
Okay,
If there's ability, if we want, to be online with every single one of Chino's cameras if we want to get immediate notification, if they decide to select that. But that's something we have to work out. Yeah, they would have to select it. That's
It's just a checkbox in the technology that says, send it to Eastville Police Department or to Riverside Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, as long as they're doing that, that would be,
That's our goal. We just need to sit down with them.
Yeah, and we met with the lieutenant over in Chino PD, and we're all in 100% in agreement that we're going to share information. So
Their lieutenant came and actually did a presentation to our council when they approved that budget for 866. I think it was their lieutenant. He's also an Eastville resident, so I think we have some love there from them.
Okay, great. That's all I had. That's all I got.
I'm glad to see we're able to move this quickly on the LPRs because I'm a big advocate. We use them in the city of Riverside, so I'm really excited to see this coming together. And one of the questions was already answered with the last question, so I appreciate that. The other question I had was with the 6 cameras for the cars. Is that 6 mobile units or is it 6 cameras on?
Six mobile units.
Okay.
Each car has 4 cameras in each
4
car.
cameras. Okay.
Right.
So I was doing the math. I'm like, or is that
Yeah,
2
there's
per car? Is it 3 cars?
six.
It'll be six. It'll be 6 vehicles will have the system on them.
And I guess the other question is, Lieutenant Martin is, I guess if any of those are involved in a traffic collision and we have to take them out of service, hopefully we can get those back in service. I know it's a little bit of work to do that, but that's always something we have to.
Our officers don't have collisions, so we
Yeah,
won't have that problem.
Of course, they're not going to.
Obviously, there's gonna be some lag time
Yeah.
on that, but, and I can't,
I know.
I can't tell you how long it takes to, to.
Just
set
as
'em
long
all
as
up.
we're paying attention to that.
And every one of our units is gonna have the ability to get the information, but not every one of our units is gonna have the cameras. So it's pretty, the technology's already gonna be there. It'd be just a matter of, taking the cameras off one unit and mounting them on the other. And that'd be up to Vigilant and our fleet services to figure that out.
Looks great.
And since and part of the process and the pace and the performance of our team here, we have accomplished some heavy lifting in the last 5 or 6 months. And so I will take full responsibility that this didn't come to you before then. We've been pretty busy here, and it just fell off our radar that council asked for it to come back, and so I will own that, and we will work to make sure that it gets here before it goes to council in the future.
I think it's a perfect time too. They're changing the law obviously January where now everybody's going to be required to have at least a temporary plate. So, I mean, I don't know how, hopefully there's a zero tolerance policy with paper plates coming through the city now. Just throwing that out there, but perfect timing for that.
Be a good idea.
Oh, Lieutenant Martin, I have a question on the back end of this thing. What tools / audits will be completed to ensure the effectiveness of this program? I know the major crimes, like if a guy comes who's just robbed a bank or committed a 459, I get that end of it. But on the smaller end, like let's say there's a wanted vehicle that comes through the area, and that might not be so pressing. What kind of tools will be used to audit success of the program?
Well, we're gonna do it now. We have, each one of our reports has a category, it's called an EDP code. And that EDP code is specific to that incident. And we already created, our Technical Service Bureau already created an EDP code that's related to ALPR hits. So every time we write a report that's referenced an ALPR hit, it's gonna have that EDP code, and we can just do a quick search under that EDP code, and it'll tell you everything that we've done reference that.
And I think the other thing is these things will be monitored and responded to in the same way. If it's a car that was involved with a stolen bicycle, and we have a homicide going on at the same time, of course they'll prioritize the homicide over this, and so we'll just let that one go because there's a bigger priority for our law enforcement. So, but we are very excited to be measuring the success. And from what I've seen in other communities, they've had a lot of success with these in retrieving stolen property and identifying known felons or wanted suspects in their community, and being able to get that resource addressed really quickly. So I'm very excited to have this safety technology in our community.
Thank you, and I'd just like to say the company Vigilant Solutions, I'm very familiar with them. In fact, prior to this going to council, I got a phone call from Vigilant, just because I worked with them in the city of Long Beach when we put them on our police cars, and one of our retired lieutenants now works for them in the state of Texas. So they're pretty excited about the seeing how successful it could work in our city. Okay, is there a motion in order to accept this as submitted?
I'll motion to accept it, the LPRs.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Varela?
Aye.
Commissioner Gracia?
Aye.
Commissioner Perla? I'm sorry, Chair.
Aye.
And Vice Chair Dinko.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Construction will start Q1, and we should have it all complete within about 4 to 6 weeks time, I believe. So by the end of Q1, we should have this fully operational and service. So we're very excited to be measuring the success of this.
And I'm assuming there'll be a press release or something to let the citizens as well as the potential visiting criminals know that they're being.
We will let all residents as well as all visitors to our community know that we will have cameras that will be recording them as they come in and out of our community.
Thank you. Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir, we don't.
Perfect, thank you. Number 8, city staff report.
Let's see. At our holiday party, we had a great time, and it was nice to have people show up and participate in that. And one of the things that we did is we had a comedian there, and Rob got a handful for being not a real cop, because he's an airline or a pilot cop, and so he got a ration there. It was he took it real
I'll
well.
have you know, I didn't raise my hand.
Your
my wife.
Your wife behind you identified you as a cop. Somehow the comedian missed all the bald guys sitting right behind you. So, during that night, we had a raffle drawing, and we collected, I think, about $560 or $600 roughly, and we are going to be blessing a family in need in our community, and our Eastville Police Department even chipped in additional toys for the youngsters in that family, and so we're going to be we're not going to be making a big deal of this, but we are going to be blessing a family in need in our community, and that's the city council, the commissioners, and all of our contract staff and city staff participated in that, and we had some nice donated raffle prizes that night, and so hopefully we'll be making somebody's Christmas a little brighter this holiday season. So and we identified that family through a code enforcement visit. So we were and so we were very excited to be doing that. There won't be a lot of fanfare for it, but just wanted to share that, when our community enhancement and safety team is out there, they are also identifying things, and then city staff are being very appreciate the contributions from everybody at the holiday party and how we were able to do that. Let's see what else is going on. We'll have the community enhancement safety team will be supporting law enforcement over the holidays, and we will have the community enhancement safety team working throughout the holidays. That we'll at least have one officer on most days, except for there's a couple days right around Christmas and a couple days here and there that they won't be in. But for the most part, they'll be in our community, along with fire and police will be on duty 24/7. So. And if you ever need anything, I'm available 24/7, 365. And so if you call, text, email, whatever, call and text is the best way to get a hold of me. Emails, sometimes I'm not checking my emails till the afternoon, just because I'm in meetings or whatnot. So, but if you ever need anything, just let me know. And I'm here to serve the commission. And we are trying our best to share more information. And so if there's incidents that are happening in the community, I'm trying to push out an email, and if it's safety related, I'm including public safety with city council if the information can be shared with everybody at that time. If it's confidential, then I can't share something, and so and I'm usually told by fire and police whether I can share it or not share it. And so but when we do share it with you, it's not for public dissemination after we share it with you. It's just for your knowledge to know what's going on. And we will never be able to beat social media or instant gratification or Instagram or whatever it's called, because it happens instantly, as the name suggests. And so often, it's posted on there before we can even dial a phone number and call somebody. And so we're definitely behind what the community is. And so, but if you ever see something on social media and you want to have more information, all you have to do is reach out and ask. If you see something you want to share it with me, just reach out and ask, and I'll try to gather as much information, and if I get the information, I can share it with the whole Public Safety Commission as well, so that they're aware of something going on. And so we're trying to be as transparent as possible in our government. So if you hear of something or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out, and I will get you the information as quickly as I can.
And thank you for that, Brian. That was one of the points of contention that I think several of us had, and I thank you for the recent updates. And it wasn't just hearing things on Facebook first, because 99.9% of the things on Facebook are inaccurate or not true or skewed. So just having the proper information given to us so that we know, what's true and what's not true, and how we can combat that. And I think all of us know how to hold that information confidential, but there was several times people to call up, and I would say, no, call the police, or call the PIO, or call someone else. Don't call me for that information, I don't know. Or people would call up and say, is this true? I can't comment on that, but just having that information is helpful, so calls aren't coming in, so I do thank you and your team for that.
Yeah, and if we have the information, and it's just like the fire department has now been sending us monthly updates on all the calls in our community, and so and then I just realized that I could send that on to you guys, and so this last month I sent it on, and a couple council members responded back saying, "Wow, this is great information. Thanks for sharing it." And so, you can. If it's non-emergency and you want to send an email to say, hey, my neighbor called and said they saw this, is this true, or something like that, I might be able to confirm it, I might not be able to confirm it, but if I can give you the information, I will give you the information. And so sometimes I am communicated with information that I cannot share until it's time to share, but they're giving me a heads up that it's going to be coming out so that we can mobilize our information team to get it out on our social media platforms as well. So we work really collaboratively with Captain Hedge and Lieutenant Martin on that, and they're really good about that. So
Thank you. Commission communications. Any commissioner have anything they wish to communicate? Number 10, future agenda items. Anything the commission would like to be put on the next agenda? One thing, and I think we did this before, Lieutenant, is response times. I'd like to see the response times again, especially for, I know they may be skewed a little bit with the holidays coming up, but for, and we're lucky as a community, one of the major complaints is just music calls, how long it takes people to get there. And like I say, I think that's driven a lot by social media. Hey, the police never showed up, which we know isn't true. But just to be able to see what that looks like, whether that's, where it was at before at 40 minutes or whatever, depending on the time of the week, just so we can have, if your staff can do it quarterly or however you think that should be communicated to this, but just the response times on the priority 1 through 4 calls.
Yeah, but I want to make sure I'm going to run it up my chain of command and what we're giving out. So,
Okay.
But we'll communicate back with you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then another thing I would like a report on is the truck route. I see the signs for terminal access, and I know that was a huge discussion for, 2 years, about terminal access and terminal turnaround points, and I know that all came through at the one meeting that I wasn't at for my medical leave, and I see them out there. But just if there's a way that we're working with the police department on identifying any, I know Jurupa Valley has a commercial enforcement officer. I personally would like to see us eventually get to that as the city grows and as the ranch opens up and more terminals and Walmart are coming through. If there's a way that from an enforcement perspective, we're seeing commercial vehicle accidents, or we're seeing a rise in calls for, a truck as defined in the code parked where it shouldn't be parked. And then if we are enforcing the municipal code in that way.
Hey, Commissioner, if I can add, all our traffic deputies are all commercially trained. Now, we don't have the equipment like the Hoopa Valley Commercial Officer. We can't weigh the vehicle, but we can write them for, excessive length and a lot of different other items. So other than really weighing the vehicle, and Brian, if you can add on to that. So, sorry, Sergeant. Sorry.
Yes, our AI vehicles have all been to commercial enforcement training. Like Lieutenant said, we don't have the scales or the commercial vehicles, but pretty much everything they can do, other than size weighing the vehicles, they're able to do.
Perfect, thank you. I know you guys do a task force, a checkpoint. We have an officer go out, and I just got a stats on that, and I know Chino did one, I believe today or yesterday. We just got the stats on that, and they usually do theirs on just outside of our city limits, on Euclid. So we're right in the center between those two on commercial enforcement checkpoints. So I just want to see if it's spilling in or if it's an issue at all. If people are following their terminal access points. Since it was such a heated point of contention with the company that we had hired to look into it.
So since I've been here as city manager, I've received 0 complaints from residents or businesses that were having issues with semi trucks. So I don't know if it's gone away or people just aren't communicating it with us. But if you're hearing stuff where somebody's parking semi trucks in an inappropriate location, we will happily work with our code enforcement and law enforcement to address those. Or if you're seeing trucks driving down Scholar Way, and it doesn't look like it's delivering to a school, let us know, and we can start, and if they usually are on a pattern, so, but, we're really working with our Amazon team up there to make sure their trucks are getting on and off and using that interchange right there rather than coming through our community, we did have one issue that somebody was parking some semi trucks on a dirt lot and storing them there, and we have since addressed that issue and worked with them to get that off of the thing. But it was just because it was a zoning code issue. So,
Yeah, it was more of an issue of we were trying to balance public safety with the being business friendly, having the 53-foot Amazon trucks, and I'm just saying Amazon because it's out there. Having a legal way to get in and out of the city for the movement of commerce and not restricting them and not giving up public safety to allow that to happen. And I know some of that may change in the future with more development in the northwestern portion of the city, but just to make sure we're still on top of that.
and one of the things that we're working towards is designing Limonite, the Limonite extension west of Archibald over the Cucamonga Creek, so that we could eventually even take off the Archibald and Sliceman little jog there that they have to do right now, and so. Once we connect that roadway, we can go back and revisit our map and further restrict some of that's coming through our community and make sure they stay on the roadway that's designed for them. And Limonite is kind of a thoroughfare through our community. And so we hopefully in the next 2 years, we have that project constructed because we were able to get a number of resources identified to do the design and then construction of that project. So we're pretty excited about that.
Right, I should just mention that in the City of Ontario, they'll be doing a Merrill Street closure here in a couple of months. We should be receiving plans anytime. But Merrill's been closed down so that they can widen the road, and I think they're also building a bridge. But there's some major tilt-ups going up in that corner of northwest corner, just above City of Eastville. And I think it's going to be really important since we have the terminal truck route issue ordinance in place, that when those tilt-ups go in place, many of those trucks will not be able to come south.
Exactly, and I think if we look back several years ago, those conversations we had with the consulting firm, I think it was probably a good idea to get out and get Caltrans. And I know it's long and slow with Caltrans on terminal access just to get that identified. And I think I think we were the only city in the state of California that got out before and were proactive rather than reactive, and it was just for this
Right.
reason.
None of the cities surrounding us have terminal access restrictions. What's interesting too, about a week and a half ago, when Amazon trucks, very large, long trucks, come out and pretty much wiped out one of our signals on the corner, and everybody saw him and everything, and so we got the information, and they'll be paying for the damage. But those large trucks really cause problems where there's not proper turning radiuses.
Exactly, and that was the whole conversation on the turning radius and getting the templates out to make sure that, like I said, they can do it, to be business friendly, and then where they can't do it, we want to direct them back to the terminal.
Right, and if you look closely at there at Goodman, we have, anyway, Canto Galliano, we're catching the westbound vehicles, we're also catching, there's 2 cameras that'll be on Goodman for making the left-hand turning movement, so we'll capture everything that's entering in the city.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody have anything else for future agenda items? Okay. It's now time to adjourn the meeting. I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.